Well, welcome everybody to Site Leaders Connect, our latest Insight interview. Today, we have the pleasure of speaking with Steve Pietrolungo, and I'll let Dr. P go ahead and introduce himself and then tell us why Steve, you chose to become an educational leader.
Well, hi, good evening, Catherine. Pleasure to be on. I was a teacher for 19 years, and nowhere did I ever think I'd become an administrator. And I don't have enough time tonight to talk about how I suddenly became an administrator, but it fell in my lap. I was in LA Unified School District and an opportunity to become an assistant principal out here in Simi Valley, which was my hometown. And I cut the commute down, and suddenly I was in a new environment and actually loving it. My previous job, I was an agriculture teacher. Learned a lot hands-on, a lot of project-based learning. Before that was the in thing, PBL, before we knew it as PBL. So after 6 years of being an assistant principal, I was able to, the district moved me as a middle school principal for 2 years. And then quickly within 2 years, they moved me back to the high school where I was the site principal for 10 years, which is kind of amazing to be a site administrator at a comprehensive high school for 10 years. And in the last 3 years, the district has me running and operating the independent study program. And the best thing about this program was when I got there, they closed the campus and they say, hey, we want you to build this program. And I asked them, what do you want me to do? And quote unquote, it was basically, we don't know, you figure it out. So I was given a complete campus, a canvas with nothing painted on it. And I've been able to start it from scratch and run with it. It's died and gone to heaven.
Excellent. Awesome. Well, that's good to hear. Steve, I know you said that you have some experience in horticulture. And so tell us about how that has influenced your style of leadership and some metaphors. I know you were going to talk about some insight as to how that influences your leadership style. Can you share that with us?
Well, yeah, one of the things is, what's the definition of a weed? What do you think, Catherine? What's the definition of a weed?
I think a weed is unwanted and gets in the way of normal growth, I suppose.
Okay. So let's take the definition I use of a weed is a plant out of place. So if you're a rose grower and a corn plant or a tomato plant comes out in your roses, the corn or the tomato plant's a weed, right?
Yeah.
So if we have a group of kids and suddenly somebody who's doing something a little bit different pops up, some teachers say, hey, this kid's a weed, let's get rid of it. No, that's not the case. You took that tomato plant or that corn plant growing in your rose bed and transplanted it to a new environment, it's very possible that tomato or corn plant will thrive. And that's why I look at kids. Not all kids can be set in a particular setting. The weeds can easily be moved into a new environment where they are nurtured, cultivated, cared for, and they can bloom. So, where plants bloom, Ladybird Johnson said basically, where plants bloom, so there's hope. I'm kind of destroying that quote, but basically where we have a chance to plant a seed, nurture it, grow it. One of my favorite sayings is also the mighty oak was once a nut like me and you. So
that's good.
A small little nut and let it grow. Sometimes plants need to be pruned. Sometimes our kids need to be trained. Sometimes plants need to be staked. Got to fertilize them, got to water them, got to nurture them, and then the fruit will come. And that's just how I see our kids. They got to be nurtured, loved, cared, tended, and put in the right environment and watch them succeed. And sometimes they do that in spite of us.
That's true. That's a good point. I like that metaphor. It's a good one. How do you see, you've been talking a lot about students, do you find that this is sometimes the case with teachers? Do you find that sometimes, cultivating that culture is similar in that way, and that maybe they need to be moved to a place where their passion can shine a little bit more?
Exactly. Case in point, I know of a teacher who wasn't doing well. The district was looking to move the teacher out. One thing led to another thing. And when they came to a new site, suddenly the environment was different. and the teacher has blossomed. And teachers are humans too, and it's a not every plant grows together properly, or everybody isn't in that same block. So I think teachers have to be given the opportunity to blossom, to be given some leeway. My teachers tease me a lot. I don't know how to say that N word. No, I just said it there. It's always fun to say yes. Let's figure it out. And I think teachers need to be given that opportunity. Yes, give it a try. If it fails, we'll go back to the drawing board. Go back to my plant analogy. I've probably killed more plants than the average person has grown. But that's all part of the learning process. You kill a plant, I'm not going to kill a kid. You kill a plant, and you learn from the mistakes. So, hey, let's try this watering technique a little bit different. Let's change up with the soil. Likewise with the teacher. Let's try this a little bit different. Now let's give this a chance. You're not a terrible person, but this may need to work. Let's give it a different try. Why do you have to follow the script? What's your passion about? And let's give the opportunity to have their passion spill out.
Absolutely. I love that. Talking about their passions and making sure that teachers are able to do that. With students, you're now in an independent study school. So do you find there are ways to ignite student passion in that sort of an environment?
Well, that's the beauty of my new job. We took over a closed elementary school. So we had 16 classrooms. So what are we going to do to get these kids into the contract of basically the independent study works? Kids have to come for an hour a week. Well, if we start creating labs, we have a couple makerspace labs. We have a horticulture garden. We have chickens. We have a digital photo lab. It goes on the different labs we have. We just recently opened up a study cafe. Ask the kids we like to study, and they're going to tell you Starbucks, right?
Right.
So why do they like to go to Starbucks?
I think they like Starbucks because they have their choice in where to sit. It's comfortable. They can talk with others if they'd like to, but they can also have a safe space to be by themselves if they choose.
Right. So I asked the kids that question, and basically they said that, but you missed some other important things. They said they like free Wi-Fi.
Oh yes.
Right. They want a place to charge their devices.
Sure.
And of course, I like Starbucks because of the refreshment. So we took our library that wasn't really being used, moved a couple bookshelves around, got some flex seating in there, some whiteboard tables, a bar countertop, nice stools. Coffee shop in town was going out of business. We picked up some of the really great outside patio tables.
Oh, great.
Got a coffee cart in there, got a Keurig, got refreshments. We got free Wi-Fi, got Chromebooks. I got a charging station. And I had to kick kids out the other night. It was 5:30. I was, guys, I got to go home.
Right.
It was amazing seeing the kids there wanting to be there. And this is independent study. You don't have to be there. The other thing was kind of funny today. There was two kids walked in and they sat down and I didn't recognize them. I go to school here. We go to the middle school. What are you doing here? Because we like to come here and study. So all right. So I kind of let them go, but let them know it's not really for outside students. There are some concerns, but I thought it was kind of cool. Two middle school kids just decided to come on over and join us.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, I'm wondering if that could even become a way for the high school students to become mentors, or I mean, I know that's something that you weren't anticipating, but I wonder if the students themselves would have some ideas on that.
Kids are already helping other kids in there. And it was funny the other day. I walked in there. I'm not sure if you saw the posting on Twitter, but the whole couple of tables was a big algebraic formula that she was working on, and she was kind of embarrassed when I walked in there. She wanted to erase it. I wouldn't let her erase it. But the kids are helping other kids, and we also have games in there. They don't have to study all the time. They can play Monopoly or Uno or game of chess. So
yeah.
Environment.
That's interesting. So you have games in there for the students. So I'm wondering,
Starbucks.
Like Starbucks. I'm wondering if, I'm thinking too of staff rooms. I've seen some staff lounges, so to speak, that are a lot more inviting than others. And I'm wondering if having some games in there would help the culture in staff rooms as well. Have you tried anything like that?
No, but the staff comes into the study cafe quite a bit,
Mm.
and sometimes they'll some of the teachers they have little labs, and I've been in there a few times where a teacher may have 3 or 4 kids working together, kind of collaborating together. Again, independent study, but we're still getting the collaboration. One neat idea that I saw that I like to start, kind of like not games, but have a book club. You get a book in leadership, you cover it up, and you maybe just put a hint on the title. After the teachers read it, you give a quick little report at the next staff meeting, and you get a gift certificate.
Yeah.
They pick a book sight unseen, except with a little hint on what the book might be.
Mm. Yeah, I like that. That's
actually I saw that at a computer business, and the boss was doing it with his employee. And I said, "Wow, that's what we should be doing in education."
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's another thing that sometimes we can learn a lot, not outside of the educational field as well, especially about leadership. So, are there resources that you would you've been an educational leader for have a great amount of experience in this, and what are some books that you go to, some leaders that you say these are if we have newer young educational leaders and administrators out there watching, who would you tell them you've got to read this book, you've got to follow these people, you've got to go to that blog? What are the best resources in your opinion?
To be quite honest, I love Twitter, and I'm trying to convince all my teachers, young administrators, get on Twitter, start building your own PLN. And it's amazing that in the last couple of years, how large my PLN, our relationship that we built just happened to stumble across each other. Hey, aren't we following each other on Twitter?
Right.
And I do think Twitter is very important. I also think not only for teachers and students or leaders is I want to say Nella Connors. If you don't feed your teachers, they'll eat the kids.
Mm.
Just think of that title there, and it's so true. If we don't supply and give our teachers what they need, whether it's true nourishment, a donut here or donut that, but if we don't feed them, the kids are going to suffer.
Mm.
She also states that the best teacher who always remembers what it was like to be a student, the best administrator is one who always remembers what it was like to be a teacher.
Mm.
And I do think being a teacher for almost 20 years has really guided me. I believe I'm a teacher at heart, and any opportunity that I get, I'm in the classroom teaching a lesson, or I tell that to any administrator too. Don't forget, you were a teacher. Don't be afraid to get back in that classroom, help out, teach a lesson, give your teacher, best you can give a teacher, let them take a break, let them observe somebody else, and you teach their class. It's the textbook. I can't speak enough about Matt Miller and that book, trying to move forward. Alice Keeler and all her stuff in math, kids have to follow her. Joe Bowler. I mean, there's so many people out there that could go on and on and on.
Sure.
There's some great resources out there, and I got a bookshelf behind me after I did the doctorate and had all these readings. And it was tough to be quite honest to start reading again, but there's so much stuff out there. Corey Orlando has a beautiful blog. You need to start reading her blog and following her on Twitter as well.
Absolutely. Thank you. So I like a couple of things you said. First of all, I would second every single author that you mentioned, and whether it's blog posts or all of those were great authors that I also follow on Twitter, as well as reading some of the books. But I also loved how you talked about being in classrooms and teaching. And I know that as when I was a student teacher, I remember a new teacher. She was a brand new teacher that was a part of the PLC I was in as a student teacher, kind of observing and such. And she was struggling with a lesson, and the principal came in and tried to teach it, and it failed. Nice. And I heard those teachers talking about it in the PLC afterwards, and their respect for that principal went up so much. And he, it didn't work. The kids didn't get it, but he said, okay, now we're going to try something else. We're going to work together, and we're going to make this happen. And I remember they were trying to, it was second grade, and they were working on counting money. But it was amazing to see from that. I'm sorry?
Remember what we call that? fail forward.
Yes, yes, as Corey Orlando says, hashtag fail forward. Absolutely. So that was, I could definitely attest to that and how important that is. I know George Couros, author of Innovator's Mindset, said that when he was a principal, he was in classrooms every single day. That was certainly my goal as a administrator, but I don't think I always got it. But but I do want to thank you for those words, because I think that's something that all administrators need to hear. What would you say? I'm going to throw in one more question. What would you say has been the value to you of being in classrooms, going in and teaching? What have you seen as far as that strategy?
Well, it's all about relationships. Not only relationships with your teachers, but relationships with your students.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I do have a smaller campus, about a little bit more than 300 kids. But even at Simi Valley High, when I had 2,400 kids in there, the kids knew who I was, where I am, or where I was over there. I could go anywhere in any classroom at any time, and the kids and I had a relationship because they knew I was a people person, student person, administrator. And I think it's so important to build the relationships, whether it's with your teachers in the classroom. What I learned from one of my admins in LA Unified, he did a thing that he called debriefing. So after a Friday night football game, we would debrief down at the local pub. Nothing's better than, he wouldn't let any teacher pay for the drink. He would buy a couple in the first round. Likewise, after an open house. So when I got here to Simi High one year, I got on the PA and said, "Hey guys, let's all debrief at the at the local at TGIF." And one of the teachers got real upset. We've been working all day out there. You can't take a meeting. And I calmed her down. No. This is not what you're thinking. Is come on by, join us for a margarita or something. And she kind of looked at me a little shocked, and she joined us. And she was eating out of my hands from then on out. And likewise, because we built that relationship.
Yes,
I wasn't just that guy who's her boss. I did build the relationship. And it was, we would debrief after every open house or back to school night. And I had a staff of 100. So no way did I have 100 teachers come out, but I had 25 to 30, which I thought was pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Well, thank you for that. Thank you for your stories. Thank you for your insight, for your metaphors. I've really appreciated this time, and I want to thank you for sharing with us all of that knowledge and insight that you have gained. So again, I want to thank you. I want to remind everyone, please be, I'm sorry, one more thing.
I said, my pleasure.
Sure. So I do want to remind everyone to definitely, as Steve said, Twitter is a great place to connect and learn from others. Make sure that you follow Steve. He's on our siteleadersconnect.org EduLeader database. So you can find his Twitter handle there, as well as next in the description of the video here. So be sure to catch us next time for our next Insight interview. And thank you again, Steve, for your insight.
I'm excited to see what everybody else says as well. So
absolutely.
Have a wonderful evening. And are you on spring break yet?
Yes, I am on spring break. So
you have 2 more days.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Thanks so much.
All right. Enjoy. Good night.